Okay, change from this man here, and pretty much as it happens, just finishing off the day, and I'm going home, get a little rest, and then I will be working out on the doors in this lovely miserable weather. It's quite rainy where I am, so we're going to have quite a soggy night tonight. However, I wanted to quickly post a video and post a few thoughts. Tonight I'm not really going to go political, but I am going to post something that's been on my mind for a little while now. Now, I don't involve myself in that many groups on social media. To be fair, I find that a lot of people get on there, start bringing in their own ego, they start trash talking other members, and you know, there's a lot of stuff that really I don't approve of. Now, I'm not one of those people who say, oh, groups should never happen, or you know, there should never be this or there should never be that. I'm not a killjoy. I'm certainly not a person to sit around and say, well, nobody else should do things. If you enjoy being in groups, that's great. You know, you got to find where you are. But for me personally, I find groups tend to get in the way of actually conversing in real life. If I want to speak to a group of people, I will go out and speak with a group of people face to face. I don't really kind of participate in group discussions. And one of the reasons is that there's been a lot of groups set up recently on Facebook, more and more, just really filled with nonsense and filled with things that, quite frankly, why do you really need that in your life? There is more to life, like life, to be fair. And I tend to avoid, so therefore I tend to avoid that sort of thing. However, there was a group that put up a photo, and it's there basically to tear people down and to basically abuse and be obnoxious to people, and that I don't know if it's the sense of humour or and I will say there's a lot of things with a lot of sense of humour. There's a lot of things that different people might find humorous. Some people, what I might find funny, somebody else might not. It's down to who you are and how you think. You know, we're subject of conditioning, social structure, etc. But the one thing I just don't find particularly funny is ridiculing people, especially people who have worked hard, who have done something, who have achieved something, who have, you know, people who have gone to great lengths, bodybuilders, people who are artists. Again, there are some pieces of art that I like. For me personally, I don't tend to bother with modern art, but there are people who enjoy that, so, you know, whatever floats your boat. However, what I will say is, when you place something, when you form a group and you get people together to ridicule and to put people down and, you know, be full of vitriol and poison towards someone, I tend to question the morals of the people who set that group up, the people who participate, and the people who comment. And normally I tend to essentially block and avoid. I say I don't want to hear anything from that, and I hide all and I move my own way, and I let other people move theirs. However, I did feel quite frankly this particular time that something should be said, because I do believe that when people purposefully act in a manner that is not conducive to the human spirit and deliberately being offensive and nasty towards another human being, I tend to say, you know, look, really? That person isn't there to defend themselves. You take a photo of someone and put it up, and you essentially degrade them in front of people. I fail genuinely to see how that is funny or that is hilarious. I fail to find the attraction to that. It's not becoming of being a human being, to be quite honest with you. I tend to be very dismissive, and I tend to be very repulsed by that sort of thing. So, you know, I think social media, to be fair, leaves a lot to be desired in what happens and how it happens, and I think in this day and age we should be a little bit more thoughtful about just who and what we are associating with. Now, I did put down, and I was very, very blunt on this page, and people might say, oh well, you don't need to look, or you don't need to do you know, whatever. But I think there are times where we need to stand and say, you know what, something isn't acceptable, especially when you are ridiculing a human being for achieving something, and I generally mean that. So I just, you know, I think as I've been a little bit more choice in my approach on things, I have become a lot more thoughtful on just where my thoughts are and how I'm conducting myself. And you know, I'd say, you know, I've been taking a long look at myself. I'm a lot more judicious about just where I place my time and my energy. And I think, to be honest with you, we're living in a world where people need to just kind of stop and check themselves, and to basically behave themselves a little bit better. And I think sometimes, every so often, you need to write a little reminder saying, you know what, wind it in a little. And I think we can all agree on that. So those were just a few thoughts. Be mindful of who you associate with, and if you're associating with people who enjoy dragging people down, I think you need to address yourself, and I think you need to just kind of take a good look at yourself and kind of think, am I actually being a decent human being? Anyway, just a few thoughts for the weekend. Treat each other a little bit better, and move forwards in life. Be better.